Woo!
So what's up, everybody? Welcome to the M8 meetup. I no longer keep track of numbers, but this was kind of a spare, last minute decision to do this because I've been busy with pre-orders and all that stuff. But figured why not? Yeah. So I want to. I guess I started working on a little demo song that I want to use for a video because I need to do some kind of like, these are the features of this thing and this is what it looks like video, promo video of some kind for the M8. So I started working on a song yesterday to kind of see if I could come up with something that just glosses over the features very quickly. So I want to kind of walk through that because I think it shows some of the features like all in kind of one little project. And as well, I think we have a track from S to play today. And I don't know where we want to start, but I hope everybody's had a good couple of weeks. I myself have been pretty slammed. Yeah, and if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask either on Twitch or on our Discord channel, and I will answer them. So S, do you want to go over your song first or mine?
Up to you, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I want to see yours. So
Okay, fine.
yeah.
I mean, it's yeah.
Let me share my screen on Discord. Hopefully that works.
Basically, I just wanted to make some really heavy drums on the with the FM synth, so it's all FM again, because I have a problem. But I just wanted to make some really heavy drums, and then tonight I guess I had to make a track out of it. So yeah, it's just a silly little techno thing, I guess. But some of the sounds are kind of like recreating the 909-ish, which was fun to do with FM.
That makes me want to hear it even more.
Okay, well.
Should I go ahead and play it?
Yeah.
Me make sure I'll be playing with the volume as I hit start because I don't know how loud this is going to be. Awesome. Oops. I'm interested in like the percussion in this one. And that's just all the FM synth, huh?
Hmm.
Oh, and using like the filter a little bit to help shape the sound, I take it.
Yeah, just add some low end to it.
Yeah, that was really nice.
Yeah, thanks. I mean,
Oh, that's a good idea to use so like on that bass drum, you use the high pass filter with high resonance to kind of add some more low end to it, I guess, right?
Yeah, exactly. It just kind of makes it boomy.
Yeah, to pull up like a, what do you call those things? You know, peak in the mixer.
Mhm.
It's a parametric EQ, one band.
Sort of, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The kick sound is pretty good. I think it's like half lost somewhere. Probably on Discord is worse, but I just wanted to see, especially with the new transient stuff from the
Latest
download
betas.
fix
Yeah.
in the beta, it was really possible to make these kind of like super sharp, deep kicks. So that was pretty cool.
And hopefully these, so these kills were to reset the FM oscillator. I see. That's probably a little annoying on my end.
Little sometimes.
Yeah, I made it tedious to do drums a little bit. So for those that don't know, the FM synth, the waveform, I don't know what else to call it, the oscillator doesn't reset on new notes. And the reason being is because normally if you're using it musically and you had a bunch of notes in a row, you wouldn't want a bunch of like clicky sounds when it triggers all those new notes. So I don't hard reset that oscillator. But if you're doing percussion, sometimes you want that to always be the same. You want it to always start on a specific phase of the oscillator. And I guess what S did is use a kill command to stop the note right before the next note is triggered to make sure that happens. Yeah, A-Rival asks if could you resample that FM kick and just use it as a wave file. Yeah, exactly. And that was kind of my thought of it too. Like if you really wanted a kind of a static state sound, you could always just record that, or render that one instrument and use it as a sample. Of course, then you lack being able to modulate it over time if you want to do that. But yeah, anything you want me to show off on this or this track or no?
I don't know. It was just a fun experiment making some.
I like that
rim shot.
rim shot.
It's pretty good.
I wonder if I could can I? Yeah. Browsing your instruments.
It's probably pretty confused at this point.
That's super neat. And there wasn't any reverb in this track, was there?
No.
It's just straight up. That's super cool. Thank you so much for showing. And I'm sorry I'm digging into it without your permission. I should have asked.
No, that's what these streams are for. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to load up. Actually, before I load up my song, I also wanted to show off some of the beta features that I'm working on right now. So for those that have the beta already know this, but some people do not. I've been adding little help messages when you change certain things. Like if I change this transp value on or off, it tells you what it's doing at the bottom there. And the table tick number, there's a little help text now that tells you how many steps and ticks it is when you change that speed of the table. As well, if you go to like tick rate of 0, it'll say note increment, and that means that the table increments its next position whenever the instrument triggers. And then at table tick FF now says table speed 400 hertz. So I'm just adding all these little help messages everywhere. On the LFO frequency, when you change it, it tells you exactly the length of that one cycle of that LFO is going to take. which is pretty cool. As well as the attack, hold, and decay times on the envelopes now say that they're lengths. Just a little helpful text. Another thing that I'm working on is I want to have most of these commands also give you help text. So when you're changing, you know, this value, for instance, it'll actually say something down there. I started to do it for the instrument effects, like on volume here. Now it tells you the value it is. And when I go negative, oh, let me turn on this. When I go negative, it'll start showing the negative value as well. So the oscillator shape is not a negative number, so it tells you. Yeah, so just working out all those things. I think it'll definitely help usability, especially for people that don't really know hex very well, hexadecimal. Yeah, that's pretty much it that the beta progress is going right now. I'm gonna load up the song that I was working on. Does anybody have any questions or anything? I hear no. So I'm gonna go ahead and play this track, and then I want to kind of just go over the things I did to make it happen. And I'm sure some of you out there probably already know these things, but I think it's still a useful example for people that don't know M8 very well. All right, that's my little demo song that I've been working. I did this yesterday, probably in the evening after I pushed a beta, but I will go over these things. So the first thing you notice in the song is the two synths that are starting off. Let's see, I think it's this one. Yeah, and this is just this is actually an FM synth, but it has both a low pass filter on it and probably an envelope assigned to that low pass filter, and then it has a little bit of gaining using the amp parameter, and then the limiter is set to post. With the limiter set to post, it'll affect, basically it'll clip the waveform after the filter, so you kind of get that overdriven filter sound on the output. Yeah, and you can see here envelope 2 is assigned to cutoff. So it really doesn't sound like typical FM, but I bet if I just kind of turn these things off. Oh, look at that. I'm not even using it as an FM algorithm. I forgot about that. So the algorithm here, it's basically these 4 operators are just like as if they're 4 separate oscillators just being added together. There's no frequency modulation in this sound. I should have noticed that before I started talking about it. Let me reload this song so I don't totally botch the instrument. The other thing here, on this line, you'll notice that it says cutoff 90 and then this rep command 2. See, so I initially set the cutoff to, you can see there's a little green dot here on the cutoff. You can see kind of where I'm setting it at. I'm basically turning it off. I'm turning down the cutoff all the way down to 0, basically, with this cut 90. And then rep 2, basically this, let's see, read the description. Repeat last effect. In phrase, repeat with XX value until new command. So what it's doing is it's taking this cutoff and just constantly adding 2 to it. And if you watch when I hit play, if you watch this little green dot that'll appear by the cutoff, you'll see it slowly start to increase, in theory. Maybe it won't. Hold on. Let's do that. Yeah. So I'm using that kind of like just an automation thing for cutoff. And there's probably, yeah, there's a bigger rep here that's increasing by 8 on every step. So that's why at the very end here it goes kind of really fast. Let's see, what else did I do? Oh, I also have the envelope. This is, I believe this is, yeah, envelope 1 amount, which I think is assigned to, it's assigned to cutoff. So I'm changing both the cutoff and the envelope that's assigned to cutoff to just try to shape the sound. I think what I wanted was a general 4 pattern swell of the cutoff, to slowly turning up the cutoff filter. And you can see on this other synth, I did the same thing basically. You can actually hear it there and see the little cutoff dots rising. But yeah, that rep command is super powerful for doing these kind of general overall automation. And this is probably also an FM synth, I imagine. Yeah. This is a typical 4-op FM. I probably just shaped these ratios to taste. And then there's also the amp and limiter assigned to it in post, just like the other instrument with a low pass filter. I wanted something really dirty because I'm planning on using this for that promotion video kind of thing. And I wanted kind of something that would happen when I show like the logo before I show the device. In theory and on paper, I haven't actually made the video yet. But in my mind, I'm like, I want something really basic, you know, that's dirty, essentially. So that's why I went with that kind of intro. Let's see what else is happening here. So that's the snare drum just playing backwards, and then a volume ramp happening, a kind of very steppy volume ramp happening to it. Yeah. So there's this sample that's happening in the background, this pad. This is actually just a sample. I sampled it from my JD800. It's the classic Iceman patch, just a minor chord. And I'm doing a kind of gated volume effect to it. Just using a table. You know, this V column is volume or velocity. So it's just constantly going full velocity, 0, or full volume, 0 volume, and then this hop is looping those back, you know, over and over. And you can see somewhere in here, I changed the table. Well, let me rewind. Yeah. I changed the table to a different number. And instead of there being a 0 here, it's down here. So it's actually kind of, 3 steps instead of 1, or instead of 2. So it does that dot, 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 dot instead of da, 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 da. Yeah. And these are just basic, like, you know, kind of crappy EDM or dubstep-y, whatever samples I pulled from somewhere. Oops. But yeah, just doing a simple drum beat using a single channel. Here's another cool little thing I did here. That's sort of subtle in the background. I did a kind of a, I don't know if you want to call it a riser, but like a noise kind of, you know, side chained noise style filter sweep thing. And that is actually using the Macrosynth filtered noise with a high pass filter over it. I have a envelope assigned to volume, and you can see the attack here is set to 4 steps. So it's whenever this envelope triggers, it's going to have an attack of 4 steps doing that kind of sidechain effect. And in the table, what I have here is this command, which is envelope trigger. Envelope 1 retrigger effect. So when this table loops, it'll just constantly be retriggering the envelope. So I don't really need to do anything here other than just have one single note. If I wanted to change this, I could move the hop over here. Oops, let me rewind to this. Yeah, you kind of get the idea, I think. Pretty basic. Yeah, just filter with cutoff, and I think I'm doing something with cutoff as well. I don't see how. Oh, right here. I have an LFO assigned to cutoff to do the the cutoff filter sweep that you hear there. And I have this LFT command, which is the LFO retrigger, and its value is 80. So it's starting the LFO kind of mid-cycle, and that's because I'm using a triangle wave. So it's starting from basically the top. I think that's the top. You can hear it there as I change it. It's actually moving the starting position of the LFO. This is just typical saw swarm with the cutoff and using that rep feature. So the cutoff's constantly being, slowly pulled up over time. So this is just a wave synth. The pulse width is set to 50%. And then I have an LFO assigned to the mirror parameter, which I've discussed previously. It's assigned to this guy here, which, changes the kind of where in the waveform horizontally it's going to mirror back on itself. And that's the cheap way to do a PWM filter sweep. I don't know why I have this LFQ command here, LFO frequency. I don't know why. Maybe I was trying to do something, but really that could be ignored. Yeah, I don't know why. Maybe I was trying to do something interesting and I quit, and I forgot that was still in the first pattern. There's a PSL command sitting right here, and that's a pitch slide. I don't know why I did that. I think initially in this song I had the rest of the phrases for this. I didn't have instrument numbers. I think that's why. Yeah, so that way it would do this instead. But I think it ended up being too distracting, so I took it out. Yeah, it sounds just awful, I think, like that, so yeah, I guess I have some cleaning up to do in this track if I care enough. So one thing that happens here that's kind of cool is that weird table effect. I insert, this is a TBL, it's a table command telling it to play a different table, table F0. And in table F0, it looks like I'm looping through volume between full volume and maybe like 80% volume. And then I'm doing a mirror random. So it's randomizing the position of that mirror command, which just makes it kind of go crazy as soon as it hits that table number. So a couple other things to probably note here. That filter sweep thing kind of goes nuts at the very end. I don't remember how I did that. Yeah. It's going to take forever to get there, though. Looks like I'm increasing the volume here. As soon as it comes here, it'll increase the volume. And then it's hopping to a place. I see. So it's doing a table hop, which changes the table position, probably to break out of that that envelope retrigger for the volume. And then it's doing a hold parameter on that same envelope. So it just holds it open. And the last, or not the last thing, what am I talking about? Let's see. So I do a clean volume fade out of that PWM synth. And that I did that by just using that rep command again. You know, using volume and then just repeatedly going down. So yeah, FF means going down. Kind of confusing, but there'll be you know, 0 through 7F is going up a certain number of given number of steps, and then FF to 80 is going down. It's kind of a hex thing, but you know, hopefully in the release version of this beta, there'll be kind of help text at the bottom there to tell you, just like this has it. Yeah. That's an easy way to do a fade out of something that needs to be faded out over time. You can also see that I have the drums pretty loud here, and I'm using the limiter to kind of do almost a sidechain effect by having the drums a bit louder than everything else and then turning up this limiter gain up. It kind of gives everything, it makes everything else kind of duck with the kick to give it that kind of sound to it. And at the end there, you can see it, everything kind of stops on their own because there is a hop command. Hop FF stops the playing track. So that's why you kind of see everything kind of stop on its own as soon as it hits this row. And then of course that that last note there, when it before everything gets killed, I set the master volume to 0, so it just shuts off the volume so you don't hear the tail of the reverb that's going on there. Yeah. So does anybody have any questions I could go over? A Rival asks, how many LFOs are there? Are they global? There is currently 1 LFO per instrument. So they're not global. They're assigned to the instrument. It's the same thing with envelopes. There's 2 envelopes and 1 LFO. There might be one more in the future. There's room for it in the display. Here's the envelope and LFO screen. There's a whole giant empty area over here. I don't know if I can do it or not, so I'm not promising anything, but it's on the to-do list to try to see if I could squeeze more performance out of this thing to handle another LFO. Yeah. Any other questions? I'm scrolling up in chat right now to see if there's anything. Arrival asks if the 4-op FM are all sines. There are sines, but every operator has feedback, which means when you turn up the feedback, they turn into saw waves, essentially, until you go too far, and then it starts kind of self-oscillating into a giant mess. Typical way to get a saw wave on something like that is just turn up the feedback to 100% on. I could just demo that right now. I'm gonna create a new thing. Well, that doesn't look right at all. Yeah, so I'm turning up the feedback of, there's only one operator playing right now. I just turned up the feedback of that one operator. I don't know why the oscillator looks weird. There might be a beta bug here. Let me turn this one up too. So now I only have these two operators. C is modulating D. Both have their feedback turned up to basically 100%. You could also get a square wave by doubling the ratio of the modulator. Well, in theory. Square-esque, I guess we could say. Yeah. There's my new ending to this track. Wonder if there's anything else in here I could maybe show. It's a simple crash. No. Yeah, I went over that. Yeah, I don't know. That's pretty much, that's just a sample playing, I think. Yeah. Yeah, it's another JD 800 recording.
Tim, what's the over-under on custom oscillators other than sine in the future?
For our FM, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's not a.
I mean, is that
it's
like
not
a
wave,
technical reason? Or?
Yeah, it's not a wavetable synthesizer, so it uses sine wave oscillators. It doesn't use a lookup table for those sine waves. It uses a sine approximation formula. So for me to change it to do different bass shapes, I mean, I guess I could still do that, but then how would I fit it in the UI? It becomes a UI problem. I don't think it's worthwhile to add another shapes to it. In terms of the technical standpoint to achieve it, on top of how useful it is to, I don't know. It might be worth experimenting. I don't know where I'd squeeze it into this without it looking like a giant mess more than it currently is. You know, like I hate the fact that I have these 2 rows of mods here, and the second row ends up like running into this stuff. So if you have a lot of stuff going on, it looks like a big mess basically. And the aesthetics in me are just like, you know.
For what it's worth, those 2 rows of mods never really bothered me, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it's one of those things that's like, as the creator, you're like, no, I must have
some space there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it might be something to look at. I might be limited by how much memory this is current, because this one synth has a lot of parameters in it already. So there might be a memory limitation. There is definitely a UI. You know, one might say you could put it right next to the A, B, C, and D, just the type of yeah. But I don't know. Where does it end?
Yeah. No, it makes sense. Makes sense. Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm gonna start, instead of saying no, I'm just gonna start saying it's difficult. So the answer to your question is it's difficult.
I accept your answer.
So on that note, does anybody have anything else they want to share? Any questions? Somebody asks, is there a way to undo, redo recent changes? No, not currently. What you could do is you could copy, like if it's an instrument, you could copy the instrument and then like change it all up and then repaste it. But there's no undo. Undo starts getting complicated because the number of cases of what I need to undo, and also have the memory to support. But there might be some type of undo functionality, like it'd be nice to undo a paste on phrases at times. But it would probably only be one level of undo at that point.
I got voice now.
You have
Are you
voice.
going to add more instrument types in the future, or is this is pretty much it?
I don't know what other types we'd want to see. But there is some stuff in my backlog that I would like to see. But they're more like utility instruments. Like I would like to see one that is a external synth instrument that uses the input, the audio input, you know, either left channel, right channel, or both channels. And then that way you could do like filter effects to that audio input and all that kind of stuff. Like if you know the Mono Machine or those types of instruments, they kind of have that stuff. That's one thing M8 currently doesn't have. There was another utility instrument I thought of that I wanted to do, but if you don't know, since Arrival, you're new to this kind of world, the Macrosynth has a metric ton of different engines in it. You know. So everything from like vowel synthesis to harmonics. It has FM, but it's like 2-op FM. But it has, you know, plucked, you know, has a ton of stuff. So
yeah, I'll just explore it and then ask more questions later.
yeah. But yeah, if you know mutable instruments braids at all, it's a port of that. So everything from like kick drum synthesis, you know, there's so much to explore in just this engine alone. Yeah. Any other questions? I am here to answer them and or go over something.
Wait, I thought of another one.
Go for it.
There's global effects, right? Sort of?
Yeah.
Kind of?
Yeah, there's chorus, delay, and reverb as global effects.
Oh, I see. And what about like anything on the master, or it's all just nothing, right?
Yeah, there's no global master effect.
Okay.
They're on my list. At some point, I wanted to look at adding a global filter. I thought might be cool for doing, you know, that kind of DJ-like stuff over on top of everything. Especially if it did the, you know, like those the mixers that have the one knob when you turn it, you know, to the left, it does like a low pass cut, and if you turn it to the
The
right,
DJ
it does.
filter.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool to have, I think, for doing like live tweaking.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, I hear a baby.
Yeah, sorry, that's my kiddo.
Don't
All right, go ahead.
apologize. It's all good. The audio routing in this thing is basically you have the 8 tracks that have the instruments. The instruments assign how much reverb, chorus, and delay that track is currently sending to those 3 effects sends, and then everything gets returned and goes through the limiter, and then the master output. That's pretty much the whole stage.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? God, I just have a bunch of questions. It's cool. I'll just wait.
No. It's great. If you have any more, ask away. Feel free.
In terms of okay, sure. All right, the LFO like shapes, in envelope. I
Yeah.
guess envelope shapes too. They're all are. There's. Oh yeah, I'm looking at them right now.
Yeah. So there
Running
for the
through.
LFO, there's triangle, sine, ramp down, ramp up, exponential ramp down, exponential ramp up, square down, square up, and random, and then drunk. I don't know what the technical name is for drunk. I just called it that because it's funny. But basically, it's just like random. But instead of just doing a kind of sample and hold where it just instantly steps to a random position, it'll walk to that position. So it's very much a drunk walk. Yeah.
I've seen smooth random, like in other synths and stuff like that.
Right.
Or, yeah, that makes sense. Or interpolated random or whatever. Any plans to like either add more shapes or make it like a user definable shape for an LFO?
That'd be nice. There's not much room, I don't think, unless I had like maybe 8 user definable shapes for the whole project. That might be something that would be doable in the future. But at the same time, if you want to go crazy with shapes, you could use a table.
Table, yeah. No, it's true.
Especially because you have control over most of these parameters in the table itself. So it gets pretty nutty.
I see.
Yeah.
All right.
I think your kid said data.
He says a bunch of stuff.
I'm pretty sure it was. I'm pretty sure it was data, like data.
Did you say data? Anyway, yeah. Well, thanks for doing this, man.
Yeah, no problem.
Right.
Can we get short names to separate the tracks on the main screen? Somebody asked. That's a pretty good idea. I don't know where I'd squeeze it. But what you do have is you also have instrument names as well. But I never really thought about doing track names. That'd be pretty interesting. Something to think about. How's that for an answer? Ever thought about supporting MP3s for samples? The main problem with MP3s is the amount of CPU to decode. Decode them in real time. So it's not something that will ever be supported. And I'm sticking by that. Because as it is just streaming WAV files is a lot of heavy lifting in a variety of bit rates. So yeah. This is hardware, so we are somewhat limited by what the CPU is capable of. So it's a delicate balance of trying to achieve those things. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I could show off or any questions I could answer. Else we're going to run out of content here really soon. I've been super swamped with trying to get all the pre-order shenanigans in order. Not pre-orders because of people are placing orders, but getting production started essentially and worrying about that stuff. For people that follow me on Patreon, kind of know what I was up to this week. But yeah, it's just a lot of stuff going on. And I'm trying to get this beta done in a way where I'm just trying to add usability at this point, because I know that there's going to be a lot of people trying to use this that's never used this style of tracker before, or even a tracker at all. So things like adding those help texts that I showed off a little while ago. I need to also make a display that shows you all of the button key combinations you could do. Would be helpful. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to do that on device or just maybe print a nice card that comes with the unit, like a little cheat sheet or something. I don't know. But it's something I need to worry about and work on for this beta. Uh, 10K asks if I want some bundle span. If you have a track that you want to show, this is the 10K radio hour. I guess that's what this has turned into. You're the only one that's hyper productive that gives me stuff. But yeah, please send me a bundle and I'll transfer it over and we can play it. Sorry, I'm catching up on chat. I meant really short names like kicks, sin, bass, effects, etc. Yeah, it's not a bad idea. It's just something to kind of think about. The main thing that I try to avoid with tracker tracks is I almost look at these like not permanent fixtures, because at some point you're going to run out of tracks and you're going to need to basically share some of the melody or some of the drums across multiple tracks. So therefore I try to like keep all my volumes in the mixer of the tracks like equal, so I could do that pretty easily. And then when I'm done with a song, I could then worry about like, hey, do I want to raise this volume a little bit, or, what do I want to do? This song in particular, though, I think it's pretty much dedicated. Like one track is drums, one track is some kind of bass. Yeah. But I could see it totally being useful, especially for some of my other projects that I have where I'm doing live stuff. So short names should maybe be a thing. I don't know. Can you show some of the speech stuff of the Macrosynth? I can. It doesn't do the variant of braids that I am using in M8 doesn't do the, like, I think there's a variant that somebody made that does like more speechy things. This is just literally the vowels, so you can't really do like speech synthesis per se. Oops. See, there's another one here. Yeah, I know LSTJ has the whole built-in speech synth and a dedicated kind of like phrase sequencer. This doesn't have any of that kind of stuff. It's just too specific, I think, for just the generic workflow of this tracker. Let's see, any other questions here? Is there any kind of general structure, convention, song layout people use? Not me, but I know Mikey and probably other people do. I think we went over it in other meetups as well. Is there a shortcut for chords? What do you mean for chords? So there's multitude ways of doing chords in M8. And depending on what process you're using, there's a different way of going about it. Like in Macrosynth, there is one of these that has chords in it, and we've gone over this before, but I'm going to go ahead and answer this kind of stuff because it's good for people that don't know and miss those meetups or whenever we talked about it. So I think it's Wave Paraphonic, I think has him, unless I'm wrong. So yeah, Macrosynth Wave Paraphonic has some chords kind of in the color parameter. So you could sequence it that way. There's also the way I showed probably last meetup, which is to use the FM synth in the last algorithm mode. You could set this up as basically to do 4 chords at the same, or 4 note chords. 4 note chords, huh? So I'm going to assign, what is it? It's pitch. 1 to pitch, 2 to pitch, 3 to pitch. So what this is 1, 2, and 3 are those mean mods 1, 2, and 3. And so I am mapped note pitch to these 3, I guess macro-like parameters. So now when I now when I change these 3 values, it'll do a note pitch offset for those 3 oscillators. And of course, you could sequence those in the phrase, or you could set up offsets in the table to easily kind of sequence out major or minor, based on these base values. Yeah, get the idea. I think this should be like 3 and a 7 and 1 octave up. Yeah, you get the idea. So I think those are the 2 primary ways natively in MA to do chords. There's also the MIDI instruments can do chords as well, but I don't have a MIDI synth right now set up, but I could show that too. So the MIDI out instrument specifically has a chord command And the first digit, you see it says 00. So the first digit here would be, oh, look at that. That value doesn't really make any sense when it's this effect parameter. The help text isn't being helpful right now. But if I set this chord to 3/7, that means it'll be, you know, D sharp plus 3 semitones and another note plus 7. So this would play a minor chord or a major chord. And you could stack multiple chord commands together to create even more notes. And there's also an add note parameter. So this will add, let's say, down 1 octave. You know, so it'll play this chord plus another key down 1 octave from D. And you could even assign those in a table and then have your chords there. And then, so you could do, I think it's up to like, I don't remember, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, up to 9 notes if you're clever with your use of those commands. I think, anyways. Yeah, I think that's true. But that's for MIDI out specific instruments. Most of the synths in M8 are basically monophonic, essentially, except for a few of the Macrosynth engines. Let's see, 10K sent me no samples. What? 10K sent me a track that I'll go ahead and play here. And he says it doesn't use samples, which is pretty interesting for a 10K. Hold on, I have to now transfer this song file over. All right. Let me read what he wrote me. Oh, I see. So the way he structured this is basically how to get in and out of the song in a live situation. So I'm going to ignore these 2 first rows, I think, in theory. If that's what you're saying, 10K. I'll just assume that's a yes and hit play. It's going to loop forever, so I had to stop it. That was pretty sweet. I like the idea of creating songs that don't use any samples, and this fits into the scheme nicely that S showed us earlier. into the no samples theme. Sorry for the abrupt ending. I should have thought about it more clearly and maybe jumped to this. Is this for the ending? I don't know. Somebody asked if have you ever got to the CPU's power in complex run out of CPU in complex projects, like getting in a situation where audio starts dropping out or the whole UI gets slow. Just like with any hardware, it's supposed to be designed in a way where that doesn't happen. I think that's kind of critical in any hardware that doesn't, you don't ever really see that. That's, more common in a computer because a computer is open-ended. So you could throw, a million plugins into it until it just starts to break down. But the way this is designed is everything that's here should be able to be done without running into that type of problem. However, if the processing is taking a little bit more extra oomph, the interface does get slightly laggy, but it shouldn't be anything very noticeable. Especially if you have one of the early beta M8s, because there's this mode where you basically turn it into a screen of just oscillator, this drawing oscillator at the top. If you hit like all 4 buttons at the same time, which doesn't work in this virtual screen, but it'll show all of the oscillators at the same time. Drawing all those pixels takes a lot of time, so when you're using a lot of processing power, you could tell it's kind of chunking along trying to draw all those shapes. But you shouldn't get audio dropouts. That's not how it should work. So. But yeah, if somebody did run across that, I would ask them to send me a bundle so I could look into it, because how it's designed and engineered, it should be possible to do anything that it allows you to do without having those types of issues. It's probably my fault if it does, basically. Thanks 10K for showing us the track. It was really neat. Yeah. Somebody asks, there's a touch screen. Is it possible plan to make macro commands to control multiple effects at once? Yeah, you could do that now. Basically, how MIDI mapping works, how the screen works is basically like an internal XY MIDI controller. Internally in the software sees it as an XY MIDI controller. So how you map parameters to the touchscreen is the same way you would map parameters via an external MIDI controller, which is you put your cursor over a specific parameter and you hold down the Option key, and then you turn the knob on the MIDI controller, or in this case, I'll swipe left and right on the screen, and now this is always attached to the screen. And you could assign, many things. I'll do up and down on this one. So right now, this is up and down on the touchscreen, and this is left and right. And you could see those parameters in the MIDI mapping screen in the project view. As you see here, I have TX assigned to instrument C on the multi parameter, and TX as well is assigned to the size parameter, and then TY is assigned to the warp parameter of that instrument. And you can see the values in the screen. I'm dragging my finger around the screen right now. And you could also set their range. So if you want one of these backwards, you could do that. So now that axis is flipped. Or you could, just dial in whatever range you want for that. Or delete them. Perfect for performance mode. Yeah, that's the idea, is for live performance and that kind of stuff. It's nice to have the touchscreen in general. by default, if you hold down the edit key, you know, you could go up and down to change in big steps a parameter, and you could go left and right to change it. But you could also drag your finger across the display while that button's being held. That's kind of one use case of using the touchscreen, and the other is just using it as a generic XY MIDI controller. So the screen is essentially a configurable chaos pad. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's actually just a fluke that the M8 has a touchscreen. The nice display had capacitive touch glass already on the display. So it's like, you know, less likely to scratch and all that kind of stuff, and it already looked nice. So I decided it was worth it just to have the touchscreen. And at first I was like, hey, it'd be really stupid to have a touchscreen for this because, you know, your finger is quite a bit bigger than the data that's on the screen. But, and then I thought, oh yeah, what if it's just a generic XY controller? Then it's pretty cool. So that's kind of what it turned into. So does anybody have anything to share or any questions? Because I'm running out of content myself.
I think you're real neat.
Oh, thanks. That's not a question.
I was trying to help.
But yeah, thanks everybody for joining us. I know it was such the last minute for this stream. Hopefully, I get more organized in these coming weeks and months. Yeah, it's been pretty hectic this week with the launch of pre-orders. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting started on going over the manual and getting that stuff situated as well. The Discord, you could find a link to the Discord on the dirtywave.com website. Somebody asked. It's in the main product, or it's in the main description on the homepage, and it's also at the bottom as a link. If nobody has any other questions or things they want to show or anything, we could call it. I don't know. Or I can mess around a bunch until and see who lasts the longest. Because it'll be really boring if I try to make something right now.
I personally would just, can we just hear like a Sawwave for 30 minutes? Like just a drone of that would be cool.
Sure. Let me just turn up the volume all the way.
Actually, I do have a question.
Go for it.
And maybe this is more of a braids thing. Can you explain what the particle noise and how that functions? Like, I don't really understand what it does.
I don't know.
I like what it does.
Let's find out. It just sounds like sparse noise, like little droplets. I don't know what you said. Oh, I know. You know, it'd be kind of cool. Wonder if you could like.
Instant rain.
That's what I was trying to see if I could do. It kind of has like it has a pitch to it. Yeah, that almost sounds like rain. Hold on. Yeah, I can't quite get it. I tried though.
Pretty close. So I found a use for it, kind of, if you like put the pitch up way high and then
Oh, the
ping it
pitch.
through. Yeah, it does like a metal thing too. There you go. Yeah, it sounds kind of metallic, jingly. It's kind of nice as like a progressive thing.
It reminds me of like a shaker of some kind. Like what is that thing called that where you flip it upside down and it has all the beads in it and the sticks? And
Rain stick.
Yeah, rain stick. There we go.
Yeah.
What's that thing called again? I don't know what I would use this for sound design wise, but I'm grateful it's here. Yeah, it just sounds like pitched grains that are randomly birthed, if that makes any sense. Yeah, that was an interesting question. I've run across it. I just actually never tried using it for anything practical. It's got to have a practical use though, somehow.
Yeah, I just thought it was an interesting sound element, and I've been trying to figure out like practical uses for it, but I don't fully understand how it operates. So
Yeah,
very cool though.
let me clear this out. Let me get rid of everything. Because I don't even know what these two parameters do, the timbre and color. Oh, that's cool. So color is the pitch, the random distribution of the pitch. And timbre is what? The density, the birth rate, I guess, is what I would call it, of the particles. Right? Isn't that what you normally call them? Birth rate. I think that's right. I wish that value went even more extreme. You know, where it just went into pure noise.
Yeah, like full on white noise.
Yeah.
I think last meetup that I was part of, I was talking about some of the generative stuff that I had made. If you give me a second, I can send that over, and it's just a file with a ton of generative loops.
Oh yeah, sure.
Put together.
Yeah, send it over, and I'll play through some of it.
Sure, man. Just give me a quick second.
Yeah, no worries.
Hot second.
I'll just burn time on this particle noise.
Hey, Tim, are you able to do something similar to that using the sample instrument? Like doing like random chunks of...
Oh, that's a good idea. I don't know if you could. I guess I could try it, huh? So if I loaded up a sample and had it like re-trigger. Is there a re-trigger command? I don't think there is for the sample itself. Oh, yeah, there is by using the... Yeah, I'm going to try this. Let me... Let's just use that for now. Oh, see, done. No, I'm kidding. So how would that work? It would be start command, then a hop command, and then a ran, maybe, and copy that over there. Chance. Where did I mess up? Chance gets applied to the hop coming. Oh, that sucks. So maybe I'm seeing if I could do this. I'm not sure if I can. Because what ends up happening is chance ends up getting applied to the hop. Maybe if I do it on the right side.
Does the chance thing work like that in the table?
Yeah. The way chance works, right? It applies to the left or right in the table. I think, doesn't
I
it?
thought that was only in the phrase.
In table chance left side. Oh, so I can't go to the right side, right? Well, that sucks. Who made this thing? Yeah, I guess I can't do. I'm trying to think of a way to randomly have it re-trigger the start of the sample.
If you do hop with like random and then repeat or something, does that work? To
I
jump
don't.
through
This is
random?
blowing my mind a little bit trying to do this. I mean, I guess you don't need a hop. I mean, you do need a hop though. You need a hop because I need to skip the start.
That file is sent over.
Okay. I'm currently trying this. I'm stuck now forever to see if I could do random note triggers in a table. What's another way to do this?
I think if you use the left column, the one that like transposes the thing, and you set a whole bunch of values, and then use a hop command to with a random function to randomize which row that it hops to, you can kind of create a randomized thing like that. Is that what you're trying to do?
Trying to have it randomly re-trigger the sound.
Okay.
So it'd be those two. Somebody's mic. Yeah. In table chance left side.
Oh, I don't know what you want from me, budget the one he said.
Oh, I could just do that. That's right. Hey, your mic is on, by the way. I hear somebody talking. I hear conversations. Hey, look at that. Really simple. I did it.
Now we're partying. Yeah.
So that answers the question. I guess you can do it. That was ultimately very simple. So what's happening, if you don't understand, is the start command is this start offset. And just by chance, whenever this command is sent, the sound starts from whatever position this start is in. So I'm just saying start at the beginning, and then I have a chance here that will maybe or not trigger this effect. There's a...
Can you randomize the start offset as well to get like random?
Yeah, I think so. You could do.
You should just use random.
Random after the fact, right? We definitely want that one to always be triggered, though, right? I don't know. We'll find out. That's a good question. randomize it like that. Kind of works. It's pretty nutty to begin with.
If you guys, I don't know if you've used like the Bastel granular little sampler guy, but it like uses granular synthesis, and they kind of do something kind of similar, where they have a randomization of which grain that you're pulling, and that's kind of fun to imitate in the tables as well.
It's fascinating. This is my new album, everybody.
Just add some reverb and you're done.
Yeah. Hey, look, this just kind of sounds like that particle noise now.
Full circle, baby.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and transfer this file that you sent me. Hopefully it's not a virus.
Definitely, probably not. Maybe, probably.
Just give me a second. Download. Generate. I'm glad we figured out a workaround for that problem. I don't know if it's 100% perfect, but it gets the job done. I think that was pretty neat. The fact that you could do that with a tracker is kind of crazy to me. It's well outside the use case, I think, of this whole setup. Okay, generate. So what am I looking at? I take it each one of these sections is basically its own little generative song.
Yeah, pretty much just a generative loop that uses like randomization and like some weird logic stuff to self-compose, if you will.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and play some of these.
Yeah, so this one's like a ambient loop using essentially granular, kind of imitating randomized granules in the sample being pulled in. So it's actually a piano loop, several layers of piano loops with different chances of playing back and then randomized start and loop points as well, and playback heads.
This is super neat.
Yeah.
So I know how I'm doing next meetup.
I think for generative stuff, like the key is like choosing what is actually random and what isn't, and then playing that with that. And sometimes it's about giving the illusion of randomness. So each loop have like plays with polyrhythms as well, so that they don't loop back perfectly. So it's another way to kind of trick the ear to hearing like something that's kind of endlessly just floating. I think for this one, it's been a while since I've looked at this, but the way I made it was by choosing different times for like different elements to come in, again randomizing when notes come in different drones, so it's less like granular play, and more just randomization of drones. But not all of these loops are built to just be ambient stuff, so some of it's like generative acid and breakbeat things as well, or like my version of that.
I didn't want to stop it, but I don't know how to do transitions between these. This is super cool.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah,
super
dude.
cool.
You could just literally push stop and then like, because each one is kind of its own thing, so
Yeah.
they're not really built to transition.
Yeah, I noticed that when I
necessarily.
did that. I was like, I shouldn't have done that.
No, it's okay. Like I've tried it too, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So yeah.
It's really depending on randomness if it works.
Yeah. So at this point, I started. So it goes from like top being super ambient stuff down to being progressively more electronic music-y, like classic, IDM and acid house and shit like that. The next one is a little different. You can actually just skip to the row below it. Yeah, there, perfect. And that's a good starting point.
So you want me to skip this one altogether?
Yeah, that one's like built on the same thing. I was just kind of playing with like, oh, can I transition from like a more ambient thing to a more beat driven thing? So this is kind of an example of like not having the loops of each chain kind of matching in length, giving it like randomization for when the kicks come in and then where the chords play as well. And that will give it like, gives it a little more like a dramatic transition between sections. So, yeah.
That's super cool. Wow, this stuff is really great. Thanks for sharing this. Oh man, that makes this whole thing like makes me want to play with this kind of concept. It's super neat.
Yeah.
Sorry, I messed up your volume. I turned up the volume a lot during this first one. So
that's okay, man. I will say like a lot of the stuff that I have a very limited Eurorack thing, so like a lot of the stuff that I'm doing here just imitates what I do in Eurorack, you know, essentially,
right.
to the best of my ability, I guess.
To the best.
I think the next
ability probably too.
Yeah. It's been an interesting way to kind of take that stuff, and I know Ableton 11 and like even I do this stuff with Electron gear too because they use like randomization chants. You can do polyrhythms or polymetric rhythms, and just by playing with like the sequencer and like kind of stretching it to its limits has been really fun way. I think these next two are like an acid attempt, like try to do some kind of acid house. I know the second one I do a lot with playing with like attempting to randomize break beats and stuff. So that's something to explore as well. Yeah, so that channel that you're looking at is like me randomizing different loop points for the hop command. So it jumps through the set of drum beats that I put together in various orders, but stays relatively kind of in tune. That one kind of needs more tweaking, I feel like, but it's in the vicinity of and has like the idea.
Super, super cool. Thanks so much for sharing these. This is super neat. Super, super neat.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I'd be happy to share this with anybody that wants it. It's just kind of like it's not really serious kind of thing for me, but sometimes it's kind of nice to just experiment and see what happens.
Super
So
neat.
if anybody wants this file, or if you want to even like, you can keep it and use it as a demo file for M8. And
yeah,
people
maybe.
can-
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Um,
Feel free.
yeah, we'll figure that out later. But yeah, this is just a super neat way of using the sequencer. I'm going to go ahead and hit this next one.
I will say this is probably my least favorite, because it was like me trying to figure out how I can recreate like a acid house kind of line that evolves on its own and like opens the filter and closes, and I kind of just ended up using like LFOs and randomization, so it's not as randomized, or it's not as it's not as
self-generative.
Yeah, generative as I had hoped, but
I
it's
just
kind
did
of
a
in the same
breakdown.
facility. Sick, nice. Saving my poor programming. Yeah. I mean, another way to think about this stuff is also as a performative thing, because like if you have randomized things when you play live, it can make your live performance different from just hitting play, you know?
So true.
So, yeah, so that's kind of how I've been thinking about it, and what I'm trying to stretch and feel this stuff out.
I was trying to do a remix. That's super neat.
Yeah, dude.
I'm thrilled to check these things out. This is like, yeah, my mind's blown a little bit, because it makes you want to really experiment with this stuff. I'm wondering if there's like more commands I could also add to help facilitate this kind of stuff. But that's food for thought
actually,
later, maybe.
I had a thought that like if you open up a chain screen, so I thought maybe to the right of this stuff, having different ways to play back each loop would be interesting. Like you could do like forward, reverse, randomized, like where one version of randomized could be like it's true random and it could repeat loops, and the second one being like one where it would play through randomly each loop randomly, and then until it's done doing all the loops, but it wouldn't repeat any loops,
Right.
that kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
That was, yeah.
I think I had a version like way early on that had an effects column in the chain screen, but I ended up taking it out. I don't remember why.
That was like something, as I was doing this stuff, I was like, oh, it would be cool to more easily jump from loop to loop and different things. So you can like write little segments and then have it jump between them in
Right.
different orders, you know,
Right.
and that could make things a little more spicy.
Another command I was once thinking of is a song position like command, so you could like have the whole thing like hop to a different song position.
Ooh, I would love that. I would love that.
Yeah. Super neat though. Thanks so much for sharing this stuff. Wow. Mine's
Yeah, no
kind of blown
problem.
right now.
Yeah, happy to share with the community.
Cool. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask them. Else we'll be wrapping this meetup here with some background music. Maybe this one. Yeah, that's super great. Super great. Good job.
Thanks, man.
Somebody asked if there will be micro-tuning. It's on the list of stuff to look at. Nothing yet, but it's on a list. Elekid Circus asks it does attack work on samples. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah, so all instruments have an envelope, and an instrument can be a sample, which you could apply, you know, the envelopes to. So thanks everybody for joining in. This has been a pretty great meetup. I really appreciate S and Encowell and 10K for sharing tracks.
Thanks for hosting these, man. I really appreciate it. I was late to find out about them, but they've been very good, and I've been watching the archives as well.
Yeah, no problem. Wow, that's super great. Thanks again, everybody, for hanging out with me and exploring this thing. Somebody just asked if you are using an external keyboard to play notes, if the polyphony can the notes go to another track. No, not yet. It's on a list. There's no polyphonic input yet, but there are devices out there that do that polyphonic spread for you. But yeah, it's on a list. All right. Thanks everybody. Have a good rest of your weekend, and hopefully we'll do this in another 2 weeks. And if anybody has anything they want to share in 2 weeks' time, please DM me a bundle, or if you could also do it on Discord yourself if you want to go over it yourself and not want to give it to me. All right, everybody. Yeah. Bye.